Welcome to Faith and Grace Life Talks podcast. I am a certified Christian life coach. And here on this podcast, we will have kingdom conversations about the everyday Christian lifestyle. I am your host, Carla Ford. Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Faith and Grace Life Talks podcast. It's your girl, Cece. How is everyone doing on this beautiful fall day, even though it's 90-something degrees? How are you all doing? I pray that all is doing well on today. So let's hop right on in. And happy fall, y'all, because the first day of fall was the other day, but it's like I said, it's 90-something degrees. Fall is my favorite season. That's why I had to kind of shout out to the season, shout out to God, right? But anyway, today's episode, we're talking about quiet strength, thriving as a Christian introvert in a loud world, right? Today's episode is really near and dear to my heart because I am an introvert. Yes, I am. And it's a difference, for me. I'm going to share some things with you. Today's episode, I will give a few tips, but I'm more so going to just talk on this episode instead of really just, giving a bunch of tips and all of this and stuff like that. We're going to talk today, right? And so anyway, ask yourself this. You know for a fact that you love Jesus deeply. But sometimes as a Christian introvert, you may feel the pressure and feeling constant pressure. Maybe you feel drained or the constant pressure to be social in a church setting or event, or maybe a talkative or always on. Have you ever wondered if your quiet nature makes you feel less effective for God? And that's what I want to talk about today. Our quiet spirit and if it is less effective for God, right? So for me, when I said it was a difference a little earlier, I was basically let me explain. So around my friends and my family, I'm easy peasy, easy going. My introvert traits, personality is not, I feel comfortable basically because I've known these people all my life and family all my life, friends many years. Some, family members and friends know that I'm a talker when I am kind of close to you or I've known you all my life. I can talk your head off. And some also know that even though I'm a talker and I can talk your head off, they also know that I'm a homebody and I'm an introvert, right? Like being at home, I have a quiet spirit. I'm not loud and just want to be seen and, all this, that, and the third, whatever. I like to work behind the scenes. That's just my personality, right? And so that's what I want to kind of just, show the difference between that and then the difference between when I am in a church setting and around people that I don't know, whether it's an event, a program. And I'm using church because we're talking about whether or not your quiet spirit is effective for the kingdom. But I'm also using church too, because mostly that's where I am, right? Church. And I don't really go many other places. Yes, I do travel. I'm not talking about when I'm going on vacation and stuff like that or whatever, but I'm a homebody. So I'm at home and I go to church and that's pretty much it. And I've gone to church programs, you know what I'm saying? So when I go to different church programs too, that plays a part. My introvert personality will kick in then because, I don't know. When I'm at my church, I've been in my church for about 6 to 7 years now. So I'm used to everybody now. And so it kicks in, I think, more or less if we have a lot of guests or if we have a different service where there's a whole bunch of people that I don't know. That's when it'll kick in. But our regular normal church service, my introvert personality is in, I'm not one that's going to walk around. How sometimes we have to walk around and greet, people. Now, some churches do that every Sunday. They'll save a particular space for you to go around and greet your neighbors in the church before the service gets started, or maybe right before the preaching gets started. They have to go around and greet their neighbor. Our church has done that a couple of times, but it's not something that we do regularly. But the times that we have done it, that my introvert personality kick in because I'm like, I don't want to go around. Like that's cringe. It's not cringe because it's a bad thing. It's just that's part of my personality. Now, people will come up to me more or less than me go up to them. I guess what I mean by that is I'm not the approacher. if that makes sense. That's where I'm going with this. I'm not the one that's going to approach the person. Now, if the person approached me, yes, I don't have no problem speaking, being kind, being gentle. You know what I'm saying? They give me a hug or I give them a hug or whatever. I have no problem with that. But I just cringe at the thought of being the one to approach someone. That's part of my introvert personality. So for me, you may see me mostly hugging people that I already know, right? And, but I'm not really going to go up to the stranger and hug them. Now they may come up to me before I go up to them. And like I said, we hug and, greet, God bless you. And I just keep it at that. You know what I'm saying? But I just want people to understand, because some people that don't know about the introvert personality, and everybody's different. Even all of us different introverts, we have different things that some people, this might affect them and this might not affect the next introvert, right? So today I'm sharing my own experiences. I'm praying that maybe some of you can relate. And then maybe the ones that can't, that's extroverts, maybe you'll learn, you know what I'm saying, how, some of us introverts are, right? Let me share a quick story. Many years ago, my mom became an evangelist, and I remember her first initial sermon, right? First initial sermon, it was her and another lady. They had their first initial sermon. My dad's side of the family church is pretty big. The building is big and everything. This particular Sunday, the church was packed, front to back. It was packed. And so me and my sister sitting there enjoying the service. All of a sudden, we get pulled to the side, and we're told by the pastor that we got to get up and speak, and we got to say something about our mom. And I lost it. And so did my sister. We was just like, oh my gosh. We start panicking. That's what I mean. We panicked. My sister, right off the bat, I'm not speaking. I'll go up there, but I am not speaking. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to speak either, because I don't like talking in front of people. And so I'm the oldest, so I had to get up there and make it do what it do. Y'all, when I got up there, my hands were clammy. They were sweaty. I felt a lump in my throat. I was fighting back tears. I felt like I was about to cry while I was talking. I don't remember what I said. I just remember feeling like I was about to melt on that pulpit. I felt like I was about to melt. I was so nervous. My heart was racing. It felt like it was about to jump out my chest. I kept it short and sweet. I don't remember what I said or if what I said made sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I tried to describe her the fastest way that I possibly could. And I was not good, right? So after the fact, and everything, me and my sister, we did not like that. We were really upset about that. We didn't ruin my mom's day. We didn't tell her. I think we ended up telling her the next day or something like that, or maybe later on that night, we ended up telling her how we just, and let her know it's not that we didn't want to speak, or introduce her. Like, it had nothing to do with the fact that I want to introduce her. Like, it didn't have anything to do with that. It had a lot to do with the fact that we just both have a fear of speaking out in front of people like that and being put on the spot and then having no idea what to say, right? And that's what we kind of let her know. And so I will say this, that was not the first time that happened to me either. So even though I was caught off guard and that happened, that has also happened to me. Before that had happened to me a couple of times too, with giving presentations in class. And the funny thing is, I was prepared because I knew that I had to give a presentation, right? And I still went through those same exact things of heart racing, feeling like I'm about to cry, palms sweaty, lump in my throat, voice trembling, all of that stuff. I still experienced that same thing, right? And so that's kind of the story that I wanted to share, just to let you know that some people, that's just how they operate. Now, fast forward to now, for me, I have grown, and I will say I feel like I'm still don't like speaking in front of people, but I feel like I'm better, right, when I do speak in front of people. I've been on a couple of panels, and so, but I was prepared ahead of time. I got on a couple of panels where I had to speak, as well as I had to speak in church. And all those times I was told ahead of time so I can pray about it, prepare myself, and all of that stuff. And then most of the people, especially at church, I'm those are my church family, so I was kind of used to them. But on the two panels that I had to speak, although I didn't know everybody in the crowd, I just still feel a little better, right? Because I feel like I've grown. And it may be that somebody experienced that, and even though years and years and years have gone by, they still may feel like some people have never gotten over that fear. I haven't completely gotten over it. And I don't really like to speak in front of people, but again, if you prepare me ahead of time, I think, I operate better, if that makes sense, right? Again, I'm not the one that's going to approach people and just start a conversation. I don't have a problem with like starting conversations with people. I ain't gonna say starting conversation. I don't have a problem with talking to people. I'm just not gonna be the one to approach them and start the conversation, right? It's just awkward for me. It's just a part of my personality. And so, yeah. And so with that being said, that's what I mean by the social pressure to talk, right? The social pressure of, having to do things that, is just not a part of your personality. Another thing I want to speak on is just letting people know that being an introvert is not a negative and bad thing. I've heard people say, don't claim that personality, don't claim being an introvert, but introvert and extrovert is a normal personality trait. It's normal. So let's stop making people feel like it's bad for them to be an introvert. It's not. God did not create all of us the same. He has given some of us quiet spirits. Some of us are just not loud by nature. Some of us don't like being loud because that's just not how he designed us. And the purpose of this podcast is to help people, whether you're an introvert or extrovert, for the introverts to know that your quietness is effective in the kingdom. And for the extrovert is, please stop picking at the introverts and making it seem like they gotta be a certain way or that it's a negative thing, because it's not. I've heard it in church services, a perfect example of telling or saying that people are not praising God the way that you praise them. You know what I'm saying? They're not jumping up and down. They're not hooping and hollering. They're not doing these things. Well, you might have some introverts in your crowd, and that's just not their personality. They're praising God the way that God has led them to pray. It might just be through tears. It might just be through them saying thank you. It might just be through them, just their heart, because it's all about the heart posture anyway, when it comes to that, right? We have to understand that whether you're an introvert or extrovert, God is going to look at the heart to see if your praise and worship is even sincere. So we can jump up and down all day long, but is your heart sincere? And of course, that's not up to us as people to determine whether or not the extrovert is doing too much and that they fake, or that the introvert is not doing enough and that they stubborn. It's not up to us to decide that. It's the heart posture, and it's up to God God knows whether or not they're sincere or whether or not they're being stubborn and their heart is just not in the right place when they're sitting there being quiet, right? So we have to just acknowledge that. But our quietness is effective for the kingdom. I'm here to encourage you that your quietness is effective for the kingdom. And it's many ways that our quietness can be effective for the kingdom, right? And so one of the ways I want to share is I do want to share a few tips. I said I wasn't going to share a whole bunch of tips, but I do want to share a few, right? The first tip is to set boundaries without guilt, saying it's okay to say no, right? Sometimes you need that quiet time with God and for your battery to recharge. Like, I think that sometimes extroverts don't know that introverts' battery got to be recharged. Like, we only have a limit, right? We only have a limit of we can do this much or be around people for this amount of hours a day, and then the rest of the day we might need that. We just need that one-on-one time with God, and we can't be around nobody else, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying all introverts. I'm just saying some operate like that, where they only could be around. Think about it. Some introverts, they get specific jobs on purpose so they don't have to deal with the crowd of people. They may go and get a job where they don't have to deal with, being around a whole bunch of people, because that's just a part of their personality trait, and they work better like that, right? They work better one-on-one. I'm not trying to make it seem like introverts just can't be around people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we have limitations and that we're just wired a little bit differently than the extroverts, right? And I just want the extroverts to have an understanding of that, right? The second thing you can do is you can serve in your strength. You can still be effective as, being an introvert and having a quiet nature. And how, you may want to ask? Okay, so I'm glad you asked. Well, you don't have to be the leader of a large group or the loudest in the room, you might work in the kingdom by doing one-on-one mentoring, having one-on-one time with your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, and operate that way where you're communicating with them, you're praying for them, right? You can also be an intercessory prayer, right? Where you're intercessing for people. Intercessory prayer, that don't mean that you got to do it in a crowd of people. You know what I'm saying? You can, there's nothing wrong with that. But some people who are intercessory prayers, they work better by, it's just them in the Lord in their closet, right? I'm getting tongue tied. You may express your quietness and your worship and your effectiveness for the kingdom through writing. You can be writing journals. You can be writing in your journal. You can be writing devotionals. You can be writing prayers, right? And you can share these things. So your quietness and your introvert personality can be used for the kingdom. Don't second guess yourself. Don't second guess yourself, and don't let somebody put the pressure of saying you got to be seen in order to work for the kingdom. Right? You got to be up front in order to be seen to work for the kingdom. It doesn't always work like that, right? Behind the scenes worker that's a quiet nature introvert, their service also makes a huge impact on the kingdom as well. Right? So I just want to let you know. And the third thing I would say is to share your faith authentically. You don't have to preach on a stage, right? Your calmness, your deep listening, and your loving actions speak loudly about Christ, right? Let's not forget that. Your deep listening. Some people, they're so extroverted that they don't listen. And I'm not trying to be how can I put it? Not all extroverts, but I'm just saying some is so extroverted that they just talk a lot and they don't know how to listen, right? I mean, introverts, I think our listening skills may be a little better. Not saying that we always listen and we always get it right. I'm sure sometimes we can be in our quiet nature and our mind can drift off and we ain't listening either. Right? Because that has happened to me. So I'm not trying to just point that out. I'm just kind of using that as an example that most of the time, people who are introverts, they have, I believe that they have, I ain't gonna say all, but some of them can have a deeper listening skill where it's easy for them to just listen. They just that listener, you know what I'm saying? And they'll sit there and they won't say anything because they're listening and they're taking it all in. And not only are they listening, they're comprehending and they're understanding, right? And then now they're having a deeper compassion for the person because they've listened, they've understood, and that's just another way that some introverts have that personality trait, right? And so, I just want you to know that you can be used and be effective for the kingdom in your quiet spirit. And it's not a negative thing because being an extrovert and an introvert is a normal personality trait. It's a normal personality trait. And we just have to learn how to manage, not being I don't want to say manage, but we have to learn how to not second guess ourselves is what I'm trying to say. Second guess ourselves about our quietness, because we will do that. I have done that. Second guess myself, because I'm quiet, because I'm not the one that's going to approach somebody, because I'm not the one that's going to do X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it makes you second guess yourself sometime. And, I just pray that, we kind of get out of that, right? I do want to say, think about how Mary sat at the feet of Jesus when Martha was bustling around. I think that's in Luke. I think it's Luke 10, where Martha was hustling and bustling around, not hustling, but bustling around trying to get, food prepared, cleaned up or whatever. And Mary was just as quiet, sitting at the feet of Jesus. And then when Martha brought it up to Jesus, Jesus was basically affirmed that it's okay for her to sit quiet and receive the things that he was giving and he was teaching, right? Some of us as introverts operate better in our quietness. I know that corporate prayer is a big thing. I'm all for it. It's powerful. The Bible tells us when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am in the midst. You know what I'm saying? Very powerful, very powerful. Corporate prayer is very powerful, but also your one-on-one time in your closet is powerful too. And I have a lots of personal experience um where God has revealed things to me more in my quiet and one-on-one time than he has in my time with corporate prayer. That's just the reality for me. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak for all introverts, but for me, I hear better from God when it's me in that one-on-one time, right? That I just operate better on that one-on-one quality time with God in my closet. I do. And again, I'm not taking away from corporate prayer and corporate settings, with church settings or group settings where it's a lot of people praying, coming together as prayer, because I believe that is just as powerful as well. But I just want the introverts to know that their one-on-one quiet time with God is also just as effective. Their prayer time is just as effective. Their one-on-one time with God is just as effective. I'm telling you, it is, right? Think about all the times that Jesus himself withdrew from the crowds and went into the wilderness to pray. Think about that. It's nothing wrong with our quiet nature and how he designed us. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Don't let nobody try to make you feel bad for having a quiet spirit. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise that you're not praising God if you're a quiet praiser. You know, like for me, I'm one of those. And, you know, I feel like, again, personal experience, not talking about all introverts, but for me, when I'm in that praising mode in my closet, I find myself crying out to God, but I'm still not extremely loud. I'm still not loud. Like, you know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, I'm just me and God, and I'm still not yelling to the top of my lungs or, you know, whatever, because that's just not how he designed me, right? Crying out don't mean that you are physically just crying so loudly. It doesn't mean only that. You can cry out to him, you know, through your tears and, you know, in moans and groans, right? You can cry out through him through your tears and your moans and groans. And so I just really want to, you know, encourage the Christian introverts on today's topic. Like I said, I don't want to hold you too long, but I just thought that was something that needed to be talked about because, you know, I'm a Christian introvert. And sometimes us Christian introverts need encouragement. We need encouraging words. And we also want to know that we are effective for the kingdom. We quiet, but we still effective for the kingdom in many different ways. So I thank you so much for listening and tuning in. Listen, God designed you uniquely. We all have different skills and different talents and different gifts, right? Be at peace for how he has created you. Be at peace for how he has created you. Right? I pray that you, if you're a Christian introvert, that you trust God with your quiet nature, right? Still boldly loving Christ and others, using your gifts and your listening ears and your gentle hearts to reflect Jesus in this noisy world, right? I encourage you today in that, right? And I just thank you again. I challenge you today, my friends, my sis. If you are a Christian introvert, I challenge you today to share this. This is an easy task. Just share this with another sister in Christ who may be a quiet Christian and who may need some encouragement. Share it with them. But your quietness does not disqualify you. God designed your introvert heart for his glory. Okay? And so that is all that we have on today's episode. I thank you. I'm so grateful for you listening in and tuning in to this episode, right? I would love to hear from you. If you can relate to this, if you can't relate to this, it doesn't matter. I would love to hear from you in the comment section, please. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, and you look forward to future episodes, hit that like button and hit that follow button. It really helps my podcast to get out to more listeners like you. Help a sister out. It is so free, for free. But I thank you all again in the meantime. And you guys could continue to have faith and show grace. Bye.